Fitness is the key to anything in your life. You want to run a business, you want to show up for your family, show up for just people in your life a lot better, start with fitness. It starts to break those limiting beliefs. It starts to show you what you can do. You start feeling better, more confident, more powerful, taking back your control. Hello, my fellow humans, and welcome to the Multiverse Podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Jeff, author of Racing Against Time, a memoir chronicling his inspiring midlife journey into extreme sports, including Ironman finishes and ultra marathons after age of 57. Welcome to the podcast, Jeff. It's an honor to have you here.
Thanks so much, Justin. It's really a great pleasure to be here.
Let's get into your story today. And then we talked before, I'm like, ooh, this is going to be really fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
So if you can let our audience know a little bit about your journey, like kind of take us on that where you started and how you kind of got to where you are, and at 57 running marathons.
When I was younger, I was a tennis player through college. And then after a year or so of not doing any sport, got into weightlifting and did that fairly seriously for a few years. And then kind of did it on and off, raised a family. We had 4 kids, raised a family. And really, for me, fitness took a significant backseat for the next 25 years. And then when I was 48, I suddenly felt like I needed to do something to kind of take my fitness and my health more seriously. Signed up for a 10K, did that and kind of got bitten by the bug and decided to try to improve my time, did a few more of those, then thought about, maybe I'll try to go a little bit longer. And it just kind of fed on itself. And so from the 10K to the half marathon to the full marathon, and then got started with ultras. And because I was cross training, decided to try triathlons and sort of climb the ladder there as well. Sprint to Olympic to half Ironman, and then to the full. And along the way, I just found that it helped me to challenge myself. It helped me to have goal races. They really focused my training, and it just made me feel as I was making my way through my 50s that my life still had challenge and adventure and new mountains to climb, and it was a very exciting time for me.
That's amazing. I'm curious, so before you had this bug you were bitten by around 48, was it?
Correct.
Before that, what were you doing with your fitness and your life? I know you said it took the back seat. You just didn't think about it until then, like a light bulb moment, something happened?
I always thought of myself as a lifter. But there'd be weeks where I'd lift twice, weeks where I'd lift 3 times, weeks where I'd lift not at all, and sometimes that would go on for a while. And it was always enough to kind of, keep some muscle mass there, but it was not serious. It wasn't consistent. And, but never really did anything endurance, never did any running, never did any cycling, never did any swimming. And for me, it was just a completely new direction for my fitness, and one that in the end I really found that I enjoyed a lot more. And I still lift, but it's more to assist when I'm trying to accomplish in these other sports.
As we get older, they say that lifting becomes different. You have to be careful. I just had my doctor said that to me yesterday. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? She's like, do you keep injuring yourself? Yeah. So should you do it differently? Okay, I guess so. But I'm like, I guess I understand it, but you're living proof here. You can keep going at any age, and it's amazing.
You can keep going. I mean, I'm 63 now, and I'm still at it, still doing marathons, still doing ultras. Did my last Ironman in 2021 at age 59, and my last half Ironman in 2023. At age 60, I think almost 61. I was 60, about to turn 61.
So those who aren't familiar, what is an Ironman? What does that entail exactly?
Ironman is 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile cycle, and then a full marathon run. And a half Ironman is half, of course, of all of those distances.
Yeah.
But I think with respect to the lifting, I mean, for sure, your doctor's right. As we get older, we need to be more thoughtful about how we exercise. We need to be aware of the possibility of injury, but we also do need, I think if we want to be fit, we need to keep going and just listen to our bodies and rest when we need to rest. But you can stay strong and active for quite some time if you just stay consistent and smart. and it's fun. I think it's a great way to live.
Yes, I always tell people, yeah, choose your hard. It's hard to lift and work out and eat right, but it's also fucking hard when you're not 80 years old and you can't get yourself out of your own bed because you chose the cookies and the pizza instead of lifting when you're like able to do it.
I've never heard that before. I love that expression, choose your hard. And it's so true. I think it can be tempting to think that, you know what, I'm gonna take it easy. I'm not gonna push myself in these different areas. But at some point there's going to be a bill to pay if we neglect our fitness and our health. And it does, and it's certainly not my argument that everybody should be running marathons or more, or that everybody should be
I
doing
can't agree
triathlons. But yeah, but I think we should all be in motion, and I think we should all be active, and we should all be enjoying life. We should all be getting outdoors, if we can. I mean, unless we truly have a reason that we can't do those things for some period of time, I think almost every life would be enhanced by, kind of finding a way to integrate that.
more. When you started lifting and working out again, doing the Ironmans, what kind of mindset shift did you have?
I mean, there was a couple of different mindset shifts. I think the first one and the most important one, there's a famous book. I think it's actually called Mindset by Carol Dweck from Stanford. And she distinguishes between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset person kind of feels like, look, whatever I was born with, that's what I have. I was born an athlete. I was born great at math, or I was born bad at math, or whatever the skill might be. I am what I am. And a growth mindset basically says, I don't know what my limits are. And something that I might think is a weakness for me, I can turn into a strength. And I sort of can't know until I really try and really apply myself. And so for me, I always thought that I wasn't a runner. I once told a friend that I was as likely to run a marathon as I was to walk on the moon. And and then, I did that did a few 10Ks, and then felt like, actually this running thing is kind of cool. And I've never gotten fast, but I've gotten stronger, and I've gotten more able to go longer distances and to hold it together. So that was the biggest shift, I think, initially, was just, I can actually try these things, and I shouldn't label myself as someone who's incapable of running. And then I think kind of an extension of that is the Ironman motto, which is anything is possible. And to remind yourself that so many of the limits that we think we have are ones that we've placed there artificially. If we can remove these self-imposed limits from our life, there's all sorts of fascinating things. And of course, not just in fitness, it can be professionally, it can be in all sorts of different areas of our lives. We can do things that, we might have thought at one point was impossible. I mean, certainly writing my first book over 20 years ago, at the time, it seemed like an audacious thing to try. This is actually my third book, and it's become a wonderful, wonderful part of my life to be able to write. So I'm a big believer in, avoiding restricting yourself, avoiding labeling yourself as being unable to do certain things, and just go out there and explore and try. And that's how you find out.
I love that, 'cause a lot of us have that issue that we identify with something and we feel that that's fixed and we can't change that identity. But those limiting beliefs definitely hold us back from growing that identity and shifting it.
Didn't even think of trying it until I had, by that point, like 7, 8 years of fitness experiences under my belt. By then I'd run, I think, 4 or 5 marathons. I'd done a couple of ultra marathons. I had done a few Olympic distance triathlons and a lot of sprint distance triathlons. Then there are 2 books, one on the half Ironman and one on the full Ironman, by a couple, Don Fink and Melanie Fink, who were outstanding triathletes, terrific coaches. And those books were really they were really accessible, and they had training plans in them. They basically 3 kinds of plan. It was just finish for the person who just wants to, in the case of the Ironman, be able to finish the race within the allotted 17 hours. An intermediate for someone who wanted to, do well, but wasn't an elite athlete. And then you had, it might have actually been called elite, but for folks who really wanted to turn in a fantastic time. And I started off with the just finish plan, but then eventually realized that Don Fink did private coaching, and I reached out to Don and worked with him. And so he coached me through that first Ironman. So he gave me training plans, and basically I did whatever he told me to do, and I did it faithfully. And what one of the really pleasant discoveries along the way was, and maybe not surprising, but it was surprising to me at the time, I got stronger as it went on. And so before I started, I thought, well, I'm for sure going to get injured because this is a lot of, at the end, it was like 12, 13 hours a week. But, shortly before the race, I just had this incredible feeling of strength and well-being and
Iron
energy.
Man.
Yeah, it really was cool. It was like, I described it at the time as kind of a Superman feeling. It was awesome. So, and then I did a second one 2 years later and was working with a second coach, but I would never take on a challenge like that. I wouldn't recommend anybody to take on a challenge like that without working with an experienced coach who can really help you do it in the best way possible. Books are great, these training books, but there's kind of no substitute for a live coach who can really help you and help you troubleshoot. I had to make some adjustments along the way, and it was great.
Well, especially because like fitness, that's like taking fitness to the next level extreme to be able to train that way. Most people don't even do fitness like 1 to 2 days a week.
Yeah, I mean, it was, well, it's funny. I mean, I had made a decision when I did that first 10K. Before doing it, I took a running class of all things. And the running class, the sort of the goal of the class was to run the Veterans Day 10K in Washington, D.C. in November of 2000. And that was my first 10K. And as part of the class, they had some speakers come in, and this one speaker spoke about a book called Younger Next Year. And Younger Next Year essentially makes the case that if you bring fitness into your life, and the authors define it as working out 6 days a week, at least 45 minutes each time. If you do that, you can really radically change how you age. And I completely accept it, believe it. And it's certainly been my experience. So I did that for a few years and really kind of stuck very meticulously with 6 days, 45 minutes each time. And then as I took on bigger challenges, you have to a lot more time than that. But six 45-minute sessions, it's like 4.5 hours over the course of a 7-day week. It's not as hard as it sounds. And I think, anybody who could find a way to bring that into their lives, I think over time will become very pleased that they did.
Love that. I always tell people you gotta start small first. Don't start doing 6 days right
Yep.
off the bat, you'll fail. But like 1 to 2 to 3, that's what I did. I did 1 to 2, 3 or 4, now I'm doing 5. But I had to
I
build
love
that.
that.
It took time. I
Yeah,
was frustrated.
I love that. I heard a quote the other day, start small and start now. And I think that's great advice. And yeah, it's funny. Like, and also with the strength training, my current coach, his line is 3 times a week is better than 2 times a week. 2 times a week is better than once a week, and once a week is better than none. And
That is so
so,
true.
I think it's important not to let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and do the best you can. And I think as important is to try to make it a routine, try to make it a habit, try to make it a fixed part of your schedule, which take the constant need to, have a conversation with yourself, to push yourself, to use your willpower to get out there and do it. If you can turn it into a habit, you can kind of silence those demons and
So
really be
powerful.
able to be consistent, which is the key.
Hey, my fellow humans, sorry to interrupt your video, but if you're looking for more ways to protect and empower your healthcare practice, we would love to help. At ITCMD, our mission is to simplify IT, boost security, and support your compliance journey with a human touch so you can focus on caring for your patients. Want to see how easy IT and cybersecurity can be? Schedule a free consult or check out our resources at iteecmd.net. Let's build a safer, stronger future together. Okay, bye. That's so powerful. You can always tell people fitness is the key to anything in your life. You want to run a business, you want to show up for your family, show up for just people in your life a lot better, start with fitness. Because it starts to break those limiting beliefs. It starts to show you what you can do. You start feeling better, more confident, more powerful, and taking back your control. And over time, you just start, like, for me, it's been a game changer in my life and my business and how I show up. I can't not do fitness. I don't even know about doing a Ironman yet. I haven't worked up to that. I mean, maybe when I get to be 50, maybe I'll decide to do it. Hopefully before then. I don't know.
No, but I agree with you. I think we should think of our lives. We have different spheres in our lives that matter to us. We have our personal life, we have our work life, our health, our fitness, hobbies, things that we do for enjoyment's sake. And I think to me, no matter what sphere you're talking about, in many ways, the work ethic should be the same, which is to approach it seriously, consistently, and really to try to give your best effort. And I really do think you'll reap the rewards in whatever sphere it may be. And I do think that as you really apply yourself in one sphere and you start to reap some benefits, it does actually inspire you in these other areas of your life to do something similar. And I think that's a great thing.
So true. You just have to start and build, like you said, build that habit. And that habit is built over consistency. Maybe some days you don't want to go to the gym. That's fine. Don't make the habit of not showing up for yourself more than one day. But there's a saying that says, how's it go? If you don't do something one day, that's a choice. If you don't do it a second day, that's building a new habit.
Yeah, there's years ago I read a book called The Slight Edge. And, I think kind of the thesis of the book was kind of like what you do tomorrow on a certain level doesn't matter at all. In other words, you can have an ice cream sundae, you can work out, you can not work out, doesn't really matter. But take whatever that might be, nutrition, exercise, and now let's extend that over the next year. And every single day, if you eat an ice cream sundae, or every single day you eat healthy, every single day you work out, every single day you don't work out, you're going to start to see some actually very dramatic differences between, the person who makes the right choice every day for a year versus the person who makes the wrong choice, and then extend that for 5 years, 10 years. And so on an individual day, squeezing in a 30-minute workout, a 45-minute workout, over time, it's not that hard to do. And if you do it long enough, you will see the benefits and they will be
It becomes
extraordinary.
addicting. You're like, "Oh, I'm going to go to the gym today. Hell yeah." It's one
It's
of those things like
reinforcing.
going to go, not, oh, I have to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the key is like just, think long term. You got to think short term. You got to think long term. Like, what am I going to do today? But also recognize that there are going to be long term implications if I can stay on track. And and you
Yeah.
see it with training for these more challenging races. A typical marathon plan is 16 to 20 weeks. And, you do that. And then at the end of the 16 to 20 weeks, it's like, wow, I can do this race.
Look at me. I'm
Yeah,
David Goggins now. No, I'm just kidding.
exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, no, it's very fulfilling. It really is.
If you had to do over, do you think you'd go back in the beginning before you were 40 and start doing Ironman, or do you think you did at the right time in your life?
I think I would have started with endurance fitness earlier. But having said that, I do think you have to be mindful of for example, family obligations. When I was doing the Ironman and the half Ironman races in my 50s, my kids were grown by then. And so, if you've got a bunch of young kids at home to take off on a 3-hour long run or a 4-hour long bike ride, that may not really be the right time of your life to be doing those things. So you do have to be mindful of your responsibilities and you have to have priorities. But I think I could have started earlier than I did. But look, it's okay. I mean, I tell people I'm a vintage car with low miles. The fact that I started as late as I did has some advantages to me now that I'm 63. I'm still going strong. I'm injury free. Still challenging myself. Last year, I ran my fastest marathon time ever after that. And that was 14 years after I ran my first marathon. So that was cool. And I think that was in part, I can attribute that to the fact that, I'm not worn out yet. And my body still has some miles in it and some speed left in it, as such as it is. And that's kind of a fun thing. So, yeah, you can't beat yourself up over the past. And yeah, no, I'm happy with where I am now.
I was in that mindset for a while, like, oh, I sure started this earlier. And it took me a while to realize, oh, I'm starting now. That's what's important. Not the past, not tomorrow, just right now. Like, trying to keep that focus. Today,
Absolutely.
it's hard sometimes, but it helped me with like anxiety, depression, becoming a better person. Just took away all these things. It's just so amazing. It's life
Yeah,
changing.
no, regrets can be destructive things, and they can hold us back and slow us down. And as much as possible, obviously, we have to learn from mistakes that we've made, and we all make mistakes. But that would be the reason to look backward, to try to learn, not to beat ourselves up and not to get
Get
ourselves.
stuck there sometimes. You gotta
Yeah.
be careful with that. It's a dangerous place. If you're giving someone some advice right now, well, first let me ask you this. Do you think everyone should do or strive to complete an Ironman?
No, definitely not. It's the kind of thing you should only do if it draws you in, if it sparks your passion, your enthusiasm.
Not to check a box
Yeah, not to check a box. It's only if, like, wow, this is something that I desperately want to do. And I think the people who do it, there's a
or
certain
built
level of
differently.
yeah, there's a certain level of fanaticism, which I honestly like. I'm drawn to it. People who really live and breathe at those races and watch the YouTube videos and get super excited, and that's awesome. I just think
Yeah.
everybody should be open. I think everybody who can should look to get fitness, to have fitness become part of their life. They should be in motion. They should be doing things that satisfy them, that bring them joy. They should do it on a consistent basis. I do think it helps to goals, to set sometimes stretch goals, to push yourself. But pushing yourself might just mean going for a 5K or a 10K. You don't have to keep going with this stuff. And some people like speed. Maybe they'll want to just get faster and faster and faster. That's great too. Maybe they'll just want to keep trying new sports. That's great too. I think everybody's different. Whatever motivates you, whatever gets you inspired is what you should be doing. And I think we all have to define that for ourselves.
Oh, I love that. We have to define that for ourselves. I know a lot of us are like, well, they're doing it. I can do it. I should be doing it. But we forget that because someone else can doesn't mean you should or can do it. You have to figure out what's going to work for you. Try it, see if you like it. If you don't, you find something else.
Absolutely. There's so many great activities out there. You've got running, you've got spinning, you've got outdoor cycling, you've got yoga and Pilates and
Krav Maga.
swimming. Yeah, there's CrossFit. There's no limit to the kinds of things. And if you haven't found the thing that really sparks your enthusiasm, then keep trying. There'll be something out
I like that. I always say if you haven't found something, you're not trying hard enough.
there. Yep. Yep. And look, and you have to recognize too that getting started is challenging. And something that you might really like, you won't necessarily love on day one or week one. So you have to give it a fair shot. I mean, you have to get past that initial discomfort and those early pains because your muscles aren't yet accustomed to a particular type of exercise. But if you can make your way, push through kind of those early stages, then you'll really start to find out, hey, this is something actually that I kind of like. Or, you know what? No, I gave it a fair shot. I really don't like it. I'm going to keep looking. And that's fine too.
Some people don't give things a fair shot. It's kind of like trying food for the first time. I have a rule where I'll try something 2 or 3 times. I decide if I don't like it. Because you don't know the first time it could have been a bad restaurant. Someone had a bad day, wrong ingredient. You don't know. So try it a few times, but push through it at least, and then determine. A lot of us sometimes we like dip our foot in the water without going all the way in, and we're like, nope, we're good.
Yep. I love that. I totally love that. I think that's exactly right. We have to give things a fair shot, to be honest with ourselves. And then we'll find out.
It's like boxing. You get punched in the face. Oh, I don't like it. Well, I mean, that's kind of part of the sport, though.
Yeah.
You get
Look,
punched a couple of times, you get knocked out, then come back and tell me if you like it. Okay.
and it's okay. It's okay to fail. I mean, I've
Yes.
there's a particular ultra marathon that I tried twice in South Africa, the Comrades Marathon, and both times they have checkpoints in that race. It's a 56-mile race between two cities, and the first time I missed the last checkpoint after 11 hours, 51 miles of running. I missed it by a minute 44, and the second time I actually got cut even earlier after 35 miles. But I was happy both times to have tried. It was a stretch goal for me. It was at the very outer limits of what I thought was possible for myself. And I was happy that I gave it a shot. And actually I look back and see how Ironman followed that first failure. Like that's what led me to, because I basically, when I was getting ready for that race, I knew there was a good chance I might not make it. And I said, you know what, I need a new goal to immediately follow this race, because if I don't make it, I'm going to be bummed out and I want to have something new to focus on. And so I set two new goals for me. One was to do a half Ironman the following year, and then the year after that, the full Ironman, which is exactly how it ended up playing out. And so yeah, I think we should be willing to fail. We should learn from those things and just, keep moving forward. But, you know, you can't really be certain what your limits are unless you're prepared to push them, challenge them, and perhaps in the process find out that actually, for this particular thing, I do have a limit, and that's okay.
I love that because I know I don't push myself as much as I know I should or can sometimes. And our limits are higher than we know. But at the same time, we have some of us have a little bit of pain. We're like, oh no, I'm good. Like I'm okay. But your limits are so far ahead than you even know. You gotta get
Yeah.
past that glass ceiling and bust through. Have
There,
that
there,
aha moment.
there's a great line, and I may not get it exactly right, from Vince Lombardi. He said, "The good Lord gave you a body that can do pretty much anything. It's the mind that needs convincing." And
What's so true.
I do tend to think that that's pretty correct.
Our minds are so powerful in such a way that they can talk us out of the easiest things sometimes.
Yep,
They
very
can
much so.
block us out, limit our beliefs, and we just can't get past them for it. Just like we're so caged into our minds, like we just need to break free. Sometimes we don't know how to do that. But like we said, I feel fitness is one of those things to really break you through those walls, like that endurance. Do you have any plans of running any Ironmans anytime in the future, or are you retired from that? I
I
see
don't
you
know.
thinking there.
I don't know. I mean, I do, I do intend to do another half Ironman
Okay.
in the next year or so. I do have a bunch more marathons on my long term schedule. I do plan to do more ultra marathons. The longest ultra I've done is a 72-mile race. I don't think I'll go quite that far again, um, but I might do another 50-mile race. I did one of those in 2023, so just 2 years ago. I'll probably do more 50-kilometer races, 31 miles. So we'll see. I mean, my goal is to be racing for as long as I can, to be active for as long as I can, and for me, being active and racing, in many ways, the two are connected because I need the races for me personally. I like the feeling that my life has adventure. I like the feeling that I'm on a journey to a destination. I like having something to train for. For me, just training to train is not sufficiently motivating. It is for other people, and that's great. But for me, I need to have a goal in mind when I'm getting up early in the morning to go on a long run, like I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I want to be doing that for a reason.
I love that. That's like me on the stationary bike. I'd rather be on a road bike instead of just sitting there and just riding and not going anywhere. I'd rather be flying through the streets, the
Yep.
air in my face, you know?
Yep.
If I was interested in doing Ironmans, I'm interested in this journey. What would you recommend where I would start at? And do you help people anyway or coach them or help them get started at all?
I don't do coaching, but there are great coaches out there. Any searching that you might do will bring you to a whole bunch of different folks who coach. Whether it's for the running or for the Ironman or for a triathlons themselves. Obviously, to do an Ironman, you need to be a pretty good runner. You need to be pretty good on the bike, and you need to develop your swim skills. So, if that's a long term goal, I would start to work on all three sports. I would start to do some running races, some road races, starting with the 5K and working your way up from there. I would get pretty serious about the bike and start, getting involved in longer and longer rides, whether that's on a spin bike or as part of a cycling group. And there are lots of those. And I think that's a good way to do it. And with the swimming as well. I think for me, a pretty typical training week, probably through the Olympic distance triathlon for me, was running 3 times a week, cycling 2 times a week, and swimming 1 time a week. And that's probably fairly typical for what folks do for triathlon, at least initially. And then when you start to get up to an Ironman, you do need to do some double workouts. You might well want to cycle 3 times a week, run 3 times a week.
75 hard.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe swim twice a week. So you do have to do a little bit of doubling up and ideally do a little bit of weightlifting in there too. But But yeah, I would just work on developing and extending my abilities with respect to all three disciplines over time, and give it a few years. I wouldn't rush it. You don't want to go, you don't want to try to go from the couch to the Ironman in a year.
I can do this in 6 months. What are you talking about?
Exactly. And I think, it's not, probably not doable for most people, and you could get hurt. And I think you would be depriving yourself actually of this great, kind of longer term adventure.
Yeah, missing the
Mhm.
journey there.
Yeah, I think you want to experience the journey. I think you want to enjoy it, and you want to really, you know, I think you really want to treasure each milestone along the way. I mean, I was so happy when I did my first 10K. And then I was so happy when I did my first half marathon, and so pleased with myself when I did my first full marathon. Like, each milestone was like, wow, that was cool. I surprised myself. I didn't think I
Look what
could
I'm
do that.
capable of now, mom.
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's really true. It's really, really true. And honestly, I think so much of this you should be doing on a certain level for yourself, to impress yourself, to persuade yourself that, like, wow, I can do this, I can do more. It's not really about trying to impress other people at all, in my opinion. It's about basically developing your own abilities and trying to become the best version of yourself with respect to this particular dimension.
I love that. So well said. You had me with the cycling, but you lost me with the swimming. I love
Swimming's
cycling.
wonderful.
I've been cycling a while. I'm out here looking at my road bike. It weighs like maybe 5 or 7 pounds. It's really light. I'm
Wow.
like, I'm gonna start cycling again. I really miss it. I had like thunder thighs when I used to cycle. Those hard
Cycling
legs.
is great. Now, the thing with cycling, my only advice to people when it comes to cycling is it can be dangerous, just in the sense that, if you're out on the roads with cars,
Yeah. Oh God.
that is not, I personally almost never train outside on the bike. I do almost all of my training indoors on a spin bike or on a trainer.
I
And then
love the
and then for
rush
the
being
races,
next to cars. It's fun.
yeah, and then for the races, obviously, but it's a closed course, and so I'm fine with that. Now, if you have an ability to do group rides, I think there's a fair amount of safety in those,
I'm
because
a
you're very
trainer
visible.
also.
Yeah, I
Bike
think that's great.
trainer.
But otherwise, I do think, we're doing this to be fitter and healthier. We're not doing it to take unnecessary risks. And
Yeah.
personally, the car bike thing,
It is dangerous. They don't look for you, man. I have to
yeah,
look at them. If I don't make eye contact, I stop.
yeah, which is
And
which
then
is what
even
I think that's exactly the way to do it.
I
Yeah,
see so many people on cycling sometimes, they're just going, not paying attention. There's cars. They're like, what the heck? It's your
yeah,
responsibility to look also. You don't want to die. Come on.
exactly. No, and there have been too many horror stories. I mean, I remember talking to a guy who'd done a few Ironman races, and he said to me, he said, every single serious cyclist that I know has had an accident involving a car. And
Yeah, I've
I remember
almost been
hearing
hit
that
like
story
5
and thinking, you know
times.
what? I don't need that in my life.
Yeah.
And you can train indoors. You actually can.
But the risk for me, I went skydiving and I caught that bug after that. I started cycling. I just love that. What is it? What's that bug you catch? The adrenaline.
Yeah.
That high octane. And it is, you're all putting your life at risk. That is for sure.
Yeah.
But I was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, come and hit me.
Yeah. No, but it's funny. Like, there's good adrenaline rushes, and there are ones that maybe are not so healthy.
I'm trying to learn that.
And the skydiving adrenaline rush, I agree. It's out of this world. And truthfully, it's not a dangerous sport,
It's
but
scary at first, but then you're just like, I get it. Everything makes sense now.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. But riding with cars that might be coming a little too close to you, to me, that's not the kind of adrenaline rush that we should be out there searching for.
I see where you're going with that. It makes sense. I have actually rethought those priorities for sure. Try and stay next to closed courses and inside parks and stuff, not really on the street.
Yeah. And look, there's some good places. I mean, I used to train I lived in Manhattan for a few years, and yeah, it's a 6 mile loop to ride around Central Park. That's a
Six
closed loop.
miles?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so I
That's
used
so
to
cool.
do, I used to do laps around Central Park. I think I once did 8 or 10 laps there. it's a serious workout, and there's no cars to be worried about. So, there are places where they have some really, some good bike paths that go on for a while. You can do multiple loops or whatever. But I would be mindful of that. I would think through, how can I do this in a way that's not taking undue
Like you said,
unnecessary.
longevity is what we're
Yeah,
looking at here. Trying to stay
absolutely.
alive,
Yep,
build habits into your life, and taking minimal risk as possible.
very much so.
Choose your hard.
I love that.
Thank you, Jeff, for coming on today. It's really, really fun conversation with you, especially learning about the Ironmans. Might have to challenge myself one of these days.
I love it. I love it. Well, I can tell that you would be able to do it. If that's what you decide to do, I can tell that you would be able to do it.
The running part and the swimming, well, the swimming part I could learn. The running part,
Absolutely.
I really would have to figure out to get my body in that shape.
I learned how to swim when I was a kid, but I was not a particularly
I
good
forgot,
swimmer.
kind of, yeah.
And yeah, and so I took lessons as an adult
Okay.
when I was
Back
starting to
to you
get into
then.
triathlon, and because I wanted to get better with freestyle, and it was great. So, and just like with coaching generally, you can find swim coaches, there are swim clinics. There's something called total immersion, which is a type of freestyle swimming with that places less emphasis on kicking, which triathletes tend to favor because kicking doesn't actually add that much propulsion to your
I think
swim.
my
You
back
don't want,
weird.
yeah, and you don't want to wear your legs out before the bike and the run. So there are total immersion clinics, total immersion coaches, but yeah, I would look around, but I definitely would not, don't label yourself as a non-swimmer. Like, give it a
I
shot.
can't run, I can't swim, or I haven't swim yet, I haven't ran yet.
Exactly, exactly. That's exactly the phrasing that you want to be working towards.
Mindset shift there, everybody, for who's listening.
Very much so. I love it.
It's so simple, but it really is true. I've been trying to get myself in that mindset more too, to say, oh, I can't do this, but I have not done this yet, or I have not learned yet, you know?
And actually, I think Carol Dweck specifically talks about that kind of phrasing. Like, I haven't learned it yet. Not I can't, but I haven't yet.
Yeah,
So I think you've got it. I mean, I think that's exactly the way that we should be approaching anything challenging in our lives.
100%. Like, I haven't had my workout yet today, but I decided after this conversation on my next call, I think I'm going to go and do a midday workout, even though
I
it's
love
like
it.
90 outside. It's fine. It's freezing in the gym.
But I love it. I think that's great.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you again, Jeff, for coming over. I really appreciate your time. Before we go today, is there any last words you'd like to leave our audience and how they can reach out to you?
Thank you so much. I've totally enjoyed it. I have an author website and I can be contacted there. It's jeffreyweissauthor.com. And the book is called Racing Against Time. It's available on Amazon and it comes out on October 1st, but it can be pre-ordered now. But yeah, I really have enjoyed the opportunity to chat about this stuff. As you can probably tell, it's a passion for me and something that I think others can participate in as well in a way that is that in a way that suits them and enriches their lives.
Oh, very well said. 100%. We'll definitely put your book in the show notes so they can purchase that as well.
Thank you so much.
Before we go, I got one last question for you. And that is, what does it mean to you to be a human being?
I think for me, I see myself in some ways as a blank slate, and it's up to me to decide how I want to fill that slate. And so for me, my goal is to be the best version. And, this stuff sounds like a cliche, but I really think it's actually not. I really want
Real.
to be the best version of myself that I can be to fulfill my potential. And I want to help others do the same for themselves. And so to me, that's what it means to be human, to try to do the very best in terms of your own performance and your own life and to help others accomplish their goals and achieve their dreams.
I love that. So well said. I always tell people your story is not set in stone. You can rewrite that story at any given time, but people kind of forget that. And we get so
Absolutely.
caught up. Your story is not in stone. Just keep rewriting it, keep making changes to it, just keep going. And we have like
Totally.
80, 90 years on this planet. There's so much we can accomplish. You're living proof of that. It can be done. Come on, people. I'm talking to you, Justin. Yeah, I talked to myself. Great.
Love it. I love it.
Well, thank you again so much, Jeff. I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend.
You too. Thank you so much, Justin. Take care of yourself.
Uh,